everyone. This is Alyssa Panku for Daily Extra. I'm outside of the Russian Consulate in Toronto, Ontario.
My name's Richard Elliott. I work with an organization called the Canadian HIV/AIDS Legal Network, which is one of the co-sponsors.
What's your number one goal here this evening?
The first is a message to Russian President Vladimir Putin and to Russia's representatives in Canada, such as at the consulate here, that the kind of anti-gay legislation that they've adopted and the anti-queer hatred and violence that they're encouraging is not acceptable. It's a stain on Russia's global reputation. It's a real shame. And we're going to call them out on it, as people around the world are doing. The second message is a message of solidarity and hope to our LGBT brothers and sisters in Russia, who need to know that people around the world are standing with them as they resist this hatred that's being visited upon them.
Do you think that the same kind of attention would have been brought to this issue in Russia right now if the Olympics were not being hosted there?
No, I don't think it would have been, not certainly as easily. You know, that's, I suppose, the silver lining of this ugly cloud.
Put the poof in poof! Put the poof in poof!
I'm here with Maurice Tomlinson from Dwayne's House and an advocate for LGBTQ rights worldwide. Go on and tell me a little bit about why you're here.
Well, I'm here to speak out against the human rights violations against LGBT. It's like there's a rising tide around the world. It's just horrendous, and the world seems to be taking it as a joke. We need to have some serious action against these violations. The lists of gay people which are being rounded up in Nigeria and Uganda, you know, the killing and maiming of young innocent LGBT youth around the world, including in Jamaica, it has to stop.
And you said we need to take action now. What does some of that action include?
In my estimation, we need to start being very proactive in terms of how we deal with the politicians. We need to start yanking visas. We need to start, you know, making sure that things like Sochi do not happen. We should not be spending money to support a regime which is so brutal to its own citizens. We need to be freezing assets of politicians who are definitely investing overseas but not in their own country. We need to ensure that they get the message that if they harm LGBT citizens, they will feel it in their pockets.
We want people to know that this is not just an LGBT issue. This is an issue that affects everybody around the world. It's not just for people who identify as gay, straight, bisexual, transgender. It's people who are heterosexual who also believe that human rights are human rights. And a victory for equality is a victory for humanity.
We're here to support all the people that are living in horrendous conditions, homophobic conditions, and dangerous conditions in Russia.
Queer rights organizations are no longer able to work in Russia without fear of legal reprisal. Pride parades and protests for queer rights can no longer legally take place in Russia.
I mean, I think it's important to show the Russian queer community that they do have supporters around the world, and not because Russia has enacted such a draconian law that, you know, that they don't have supporters around the world. Folks need to know that being queer is good, being queer is positive, being part of a queer community can be a positive experience beyond the sort of physical violence and oppression that they're currently experiencing.
Solidarity! Thank you.